Welcome to the Coven Chat.
Thank you for joining me here at the Maiden Circle Coven Chat podcast, where we talk all things witchy, spiritual, and human.
Hello, merry meet, and welcome. Thank you for joining me here at the Coven Chat. In today's episode, we are talking all about the magic number 3. 3 has been one of my favorite numbers my entire life, and that's either for good reason or for propaganda, maybe a little bit of both. But before we get into our episode and our fun fact, I would like to read the Wiccan Read to you. The Wiccan Read, like many other Wiccan texts, mentions something called the Threefold Law, and we'll talk more about that law in our episode. But because of that, I thought it'd be a good thing to share with you today. And it is another one of those tenets that I have to read out loud whenever I go into my Book of Shadows. So it is crux to my practice and my religion in many ways. It is often the first thing that Wiccans find when they come into this practice. So without further ado, here is the Wiccan Read by Doreen Valiente. Bide the Wiccan reeds ye must in perfect love and perfect trust. Live ye must, and let to live, fairly take and fairly give. Form the circle thrice about, to keep unwelcome spirits out. Bind fast the spell every time, let the words be spoke in rhyme. Soft of eye and light of touch, speak ye little, listen much. Deosil go by waxing moon, sing and dance the witch's rune. Widdershins go by waning moon, chant ye then a baleful tune. When the lady's moon is new, kiss hand to her times 2. When the moon rides at peak, heart's desire then ye seek. Heed the north wind's mighty gale, lock the door and trim the sail. When the wind comes from the south, love will kiss them on the mouth. When the wind blows from the west, departed souls will have no rest. When the wind blows from the east, expect the new and set the feast. 9 woods in the cauldron go, burn them quick, burn them slow. Elder be the lady's tree, burn it not, or cursed you'll be. When the wind begins to turn, soon Beltane fires will burn. When the wheel has turned to Yule, light the log, the horned one rules. Heed the flower, bush, or tree, by the lady blessed be. When the rippling waters flow, cast a stone, the truth you'll know. When ye have and hold a need, hearken not to others' greed. With a fool no season spend, or be counted as his friend. Merry meet and merry part, bright the cheeks, warm the heart. Mind the threefold law ye should, 3 times bad and 3 times good. Whene'er misfortune is enow, wear the star upon your brow. True in troth ever ye be, lest thy love prove false to thee. 'Tis by the sun that life be won, and by the moon that change be done. If ye would clear the path to will, make certain the mind be still. What good be tools without inner light? What good be magic without wisdom's sight? 8 words the Wiccan Read fulfill, and it harm none, do what ye will. I absolutely love the Wiccan Read. Every time I hear it or read it out loud, it sounds a little different. There are different things I pick up, or even if it's something I've thought of in the past, I just pick it up again and I feel powerful. There's so many things about living life and being a Wiccan in this one little poem, and it's just wonderful. I definitely suggest you break it down piece by piece and just see how you can live a Wiccan life through it. So with that, let's move along to our fun fact of the day.
Pagan fun fact. Here's your fun facts now.
If this is your first time listening to the Coven Chat, welcome and thank you so much for being here. If this is not your first time, then you know how much of my life is tarot-centered. I think about tarot a lot. I read it a lot. I am very grateful that it is something I've come across in my life. And if you want to know more about my experience with tarot, we do have an episode on the tarot here. Wherever you're listening, it is somewhere on the playlist. Today I want to talk about the tarot card, the Empress, since she is the 3rd card in the deck. So let's start with the basics. The Empress is the feminine counterpart to the Emperor. The term Emperor is essentially a title for a ruler of an empire, which is essentially a territory made up of other territories. So say, for instance, you rule one city and then you go to another city, you conquer it, you're ruling that city, you've begun an empire. You rule cities all around the world, that is your empire, or at least in the more historical sense. So the Emperor and the Empress are the ones who rule it. They are the masculine and feminine who are on top of the empire. Where the Emperor is usually seen as a figure who's in charge, who is in control, who is authoritative, the Empress tends to have a more receptive role. She tends to be mothering. In many tarot decks, she is represented by a pregnant woman, a woman who is usually in the later stages where her belly is full, noticeable. In the card I'm actually looking at now, she's not. So I am looking at the Gilded Tarot, which I use for most of our readings. It's my favorite deck to read with. And she is not visibly pregnant, though there is a red sash around her midsection with a jewel in the center that can be representative of fertility. And she's also wearing a lot of green and gold, which can represent the fertility of nature and richness and abundance. But in my other decks, she is represented by a pregnant woman, and she is often seen in comfortable positions. She is usually seen sitting on a throne. This deck is very unique in that it is not fitting the usual look of the Empress, but in most decks, including the Rider-Waite deck, you will probably see her sitting in a throne. Funnily enough, I never really clocked this difference in this deck until now. I never really thought about it. In my Gilded Tarot, she is standing. In most decks, she's sitting. In many decks, she's pregnant. She could be surrounded by animals or nature, things that represent fertility and growth. She is more of the mother, where the Emperor is the father figure. She is meant to be soothing, meant to be nurturing. She is mother. She is Mother Earth, and she is the mother of the deck. She is the source of life. She is the ultimate feminine being, where the Emperor is logic and often stoic and strict. The Empress is emotion and gentleness and going with the flow. They balance each other out. So I always like to say that both masculine and feminine aspects are necessary in everybody. So when the Empress comes out, she may be reminding you to get in touch with your femininity, with your nurturing side, depending, of course, on what the question was. And I want to make clear that just because she is soft and receptive, it doesn't mean she is a pushover or that she is not a boss in her own right. She and the Emperor are counterparts, meaning they are both in positions of leadership, they are both powerful, and they need each other to be their most powerful. Neither is inferior to the other. They are complementary with one another. Now, I rarely read reversals, but I suppose if you were to reverse the Empress, her message would then be that you need to allow yourself to receive this energy, this nurture, this love, this softness, whether you need to treat yourself more softly and you haven't been, or you need to enforce it from other people if others have not been treating you softly. It essentially means there's an imbalance there. You could be creatively blocked, you could feel like you're not able to nurture or birth anything. That could be, you're not able to write or draw or whatever it is your passion is. You're not able to give into it. When she's in reverse, that may be one of her messages. Of course, I tend to choose to look at all the cards surrounding each other and the story that they tell together, so I don't necessarily need reversals. But if you are starting out, it could be helpful to look at the keywords If your deck comes with a book, look at the keywords that deck is giving, because that always helps me understand the deck itself. And also, look online. There are so many different resources for understanding each individual card that I think it becomes very easy to train your brain to see patterns, to train your intuition to connect with patterns, so that your readings come out as accurately as possible. So that's a tool you can add to your toolbox, and I will come back and talk more about tarot because I genuinely love the practice. There are lots of things I don't love about it, especially the capitalization of it through apps and things like that, but even that could be worse. Ultimately, I do think it's a wonderful practice. I think it's interesting, and I think more people should be open to, if anything, receiving messages through cards, even if they just look at one card a day for themselves, just do it randomly online if that's what makes you feel good. Anyway, that's your fun fact of the day. Let's go ahead and jump into this episode's musing. 3. It's a magic number. Yes, it is. Folks in my generation and older might recognize the song 3 is a Magic Number from Schoolhouse Rock. If you don't recognize it, Schoolhouse Rock is an educational program that originated in 1973. It was a series of educational videos on various topics including math, science, politics, and grammar. And when I was younger, it was all the rage. It was shared in many schools. A lot of people my age knew what it was and can probably still reference some of the songs to this day. One of my most favorite songs from Schoolhouse Rock is 3 is a Magic Number, a song about 3 and its multiplication. It's always stuck out to me. I saw the video when I was a very small child, and it lives in my head. To this day, I can't do multiples of 3 without thinking of that song. And so even before I came to the pagan practice, I had the idea in my mind that the number 3 is a magical number. It's a lucky number. It's a special number. And so I've carried this magical energy with me from childhood. But what makes 3 such a magical number? According to the Welsh National Opera, the Greek philosopher Pythagoras suggested that all numbers had meaning behind them. According to Pythagoras, 3 was considered a perfect number, a number of harmony, wisdom, and understanding. This perfection is reflected in the shape of a triangle, which is one of the strongest shapes structure-wise. But then, of course, there is how the number 3, or the Trinity, presents itself throughout all of our cultures. There are a number of deities who have a triple face or a triple aspect about them. We as a society tend to see both good and bad things come in 3s. It seems to be the natural pattern of the universe. The number 3 is the smallest number of repeating items or repeating anything that we need to see a pattern. So maybe that's why we tend to notice things when they come in 3s, and maybe that's why it connects to our brain the way that it does, because it is our first idea of a pattern. We can see 3 represented in almost every aspect of life. In religion, of course, we do have the Holy Trinity, the Christian Holy Trinity, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. In Wicca, we have the Mother, the Maiden, and Crone, or the Father, Warrior, and Sage. We also have a whole bunch of deities like Hecate and Brighid, who can be represented as a triple goddess. In the pagan community, we also have the triple goddess symbol, which you may have seen as a full moon or circle in the center and 2 crescent moons on either side, forming almost a set of sideways horns. When doing spell work, it's very easy to use the number 3 to create associations in our brain, to chant, to work a spell without having to think too deeply about the numbers or the math, you can generally assume that the number 3 is going to enhance your magic. Of course, it isn't just in religion and spirituality that the number 3 has a hold on our society. In art and photography, we have the rule of thirds, which is a method of dividing the canvas or image into 3 sections on top of 3 sections, creating a bit of a grid. This allows artists to work with perspective in many different ways. There's also the rule of 3 in writing. When doing comedy, jokes tend to land better if there is some sort of build-up, and that build-up usually follows the rule of 3. So you'd start a joke, you'd introduce it, and then maybe you'd have a middle part where you'd play with the joke a little, and then you'd hit the punchline with number 3. But this is a build-up. With story writing, you of course have the beginning, the middle, and end. A 3-story structure or 3-act structure is something you hear about a lot in the writing community. It's the basic building block of a story. You need to have at least a beginning, a middle, and an end. The rule of 3 in writing works really well with comedy, but it can work with pretty much anything else. If you do something 3 times, if you say something 3 times, it's more likely to stick in your brain. It's more likely to affect other people if you repeat something 3 times. There's just something about it that the human brain really, really likes. And this, of course, is a natural development. It's something that simply has happened over time that people, scholars, have noticed and they wrote it down. But it wasn't manufactured. It wasn't forced. It's simply how we operate. We are drawn to the number 3. Our very universe operates on the number 3. And I've said this before, our universe operates on numbers in general. If you look down to the smallest measurements of mass, one of the best ways to understand that is through the numbers. And the same can be said for something way beyond our scope. Numbers are the language of the universe, and 3 is one of its best building blocks. In the Wiccan read, we hear the threefold law. Mind the threefold law ye should, 3 times bad and 3 times good. The law of 3 in Wicca presents a Western idea of karma, essentially saying that whatever it is that you do, whatever it is that you put out in the world, then you can expect at least 3 times of the same. So if you're good to someone, then you can expect others to be very good to you. If you're not so good to someone, you can expect to get some crap on your head. That's the general basis of it. A lot of spiritual people nowadays don't necessarily prescribe to that. I absolutely do believe that what you put out in the world is what will be reflected back to you, but whether or not that can be measured in some form of 3s or anything like that, because it's such an abstract thing, I don't think it can be. So it is definitely more of a guideline than a strict rule. That said, it is very important to treat others how you would like to be treated. It's a basic golden rule, and I know a lot of spiritual people who balk at the threefold law don't necessarily consider that their actions do have consequences, that everything that you do does have a reaction. Every action has a reaction. It's the basic law of physics, it's the basic law of existence. Every action has a reaction. So whether you believe the threefold law or whether you name it something else, I believe its main function is to remind us to treat others, treat our world the way we would ideally choose to be treated. And I do mean ideally, instead of looking at how we are treated. It's important to say, okay, this is how we want to be treated. This is how we think human beings should be treated. And our actions should reflect that. So whether you call it the threefold law or the golden rule, I think it's a great reminder to be good to others. Be good to the world around you. Not only other humans, but simply other living beings. Animals, plants. Be good, and the world will give you good in kind. But of course, you can't be good with expectation, because then you've tainted it, you've colored it, and it's no longer good for goodness sake, it's good for the hope of a reward. It's a pretty thin line, but I do think that the threefold law kind of helps us remember where that line is. The number 3 holds wisdom. It is a reminder of God's wisdom. It is a reminder of the balance that is inherent in the universe, that is inherent in existence, in science, in physics. And just as I said that, I saw 3333 on my timer here. Whenever I see the number 3 repeated, either as 333 or 3333 like I just saw, it's a reminder that the divine is always with me, that God and Goddess, my divine mother and father, are standing on either side of me. Mother, father, and blessed child. I am supported, I am loved, I am reminded of my connection with them, with it, with her, with him, with divinity within myself and outside of myself. I am reminded that I am blessed. I am reminded to be grateful for my blessings. I am reminded that they are always with me and I am never alone. I am never unsupported. I am never unloved. Yeah, it's just a simple number. It's just the number 3. But every day, multiple times a day, I get to receive this blessing, this message. I get to remember the touch of God, the love of God, that she is with me. Every day, this number, 333, 3333, this angel number shows itself to me. And every day I am blessed. And I just think that's wonderful. I think that's fascinating. I think the more people tap into these blessings, tap into the energy of the numbers that present themselves to them, the more balanced our world is going to be, the more healthy our society will be. Even if we all just do something small, like remember our blessings, remember our connections, remember our divinity. And if anything helps you do that, then I think it's a net good, even if some people out there might call it silly. I love the number 3. I love 13 and 33 and 133. These numbers that have been so significant in my life have added to my practice, added to my improved and consistently improving mental health, emotional health, spiritual health. It's just a little number, a magic number, 3. So I think that's all the rambling I've got for you today. Hopefully it made a little sense and you got something out of it. I'll link below some of the things I mentioned and some of the websites I used in research, even though I didn't directly mention those websites, because I do think looking into the number 3 and the magic of numbers in general can help so many people. So I recommend that you do it. Of course, if you don't, that's fine too. Do what makes you feel good. Do what helps you and helps others, and what your soul calls you to do. And I'll do my best to do the same. So with that, let's go ahead and jump into our reading for this episode. So in honor of today's episode, I decided to pull cards from each of my 3 oracle decks. So the first pile is from the Whole Heart Oracle, the second pile is from the Soul Healing Oracle, and the third pile is from the Sensual Soul Oracle. Take a moment and pick, feel free to pause, I'm going to jump into it. So for pile 1 with the Whole Heart Oracle, we have Choose Love, Always Love. This is a karmic relationship, and in the bottom of the deck we have Express Yourself. Love should be at the top of your priority list every day. Love makes our daily activities, be it work, school, or otherwise, that much more worth it. If it comes down to a choice between love and something less fulfilling, choose love. And then we have This is a karmic relationship. This situation is steeped in some heavy karma. Shadow work and meditation, as well as being brutally honest with yourself, are the best methods for escaping a toxic situation. And then Express Yourself. Let yourself be free to express whatever feelings you're experiencing. Don't hold back. This openness may lead to an unexpected outcome. So the energy I'm getting with this is it is important for you to choose what is loving for you. If you are in a situation or you find yourself surrounded by other people where they are not giving you love, it feels toxic, it feels unsafe, it feels uncomfortable, now is the time to speak up. Now is the time to be clear. This could be expressing yourself to that person. If you think that they're going to be open to changing and healing, you could be talking and sharing with them. If they're not that kind of a person, that's not your problem. You can vent elsewhere. You can write it down in a journal. You can talk to a therapist. You can talk to friends. You can share it on social media. I always say, if you don't want someone else knowing about your bad behavior, don't behave badly. So if you're sharing someone else's bad treatment of you on social media, there's no reason for you to feel guilty, because if you're telling the truth and you're being honest, then the only person who has actually done any harm is the person whose bad behavior you're talking about. So this is saying to be truthful. This is saying to express. And if the bad behavior is you, if you're treating yourself badly, you're sabotaging yourself, you're not following through on the things that you say you want to do that are important to you, for whatever reason, be it fear or negative self-talk, low self-esteem, someone else, again, being a pressure on you, for whatever reason, this is your time, again, to step out of that shadow, meditate, take some time to decide what really means love to you. What is loving action? What is a loving lifestyle? How can you incorporate that self-love and love of others and love of those around you, love of the world around you, into your everyday existence so that it is a constant? Be open, choose love, always choose love. So that's for pile 1. For pile 2, we have the soul needs air, and on the bottom of the deck, the soul needs balance. So the soul needs air is breathe, flow, release. The soul needs balance, fairness, justice, organization. So for some of you, it's just getting organized. It's just taking the time to let go. This isn't about being in control so much as allowing yourself to simply feel in control, to feel like nothing's out of whack, you're not in chaos. This is finding some calm, finding some peace. Some of you may be dealing with court situations, and this is just saying you're going to find some release from that. You're going to be able to take a deep breath and just let it go. Things are going to play out the way they're meant to with this fairness here. Things are going to be stable. Things are going to be what they need to be, and you're going to be okay. It's a very concise, clear, nice message. Take some breaths, relax. Everything is going to be okay. Let go of the need to control things, but understand that things are in order. Things are falling into the place that they're supposed to be. Okay, so pile number 3, we have handcuffs and lace. And on the bottom of the deck, I've moved on. So handcuffs and lace, whether you're submissive or the dominant type, you'll feel more powerful in the right outfit. Wear something that reflects who you are and what you desire. You'll surely attract whom or whatever you're looking for. I've moved on. They found someone else and there's no chance of rekindling this relationship. The best thing for you to do now is move on. So I'm actually getting 2 different messages from this. The first is some of you may be experiencing a breakup, or you've already experienced a breakup and they've moved on, and this is your message for you to move on. Not only just to move on, but to have your glow up, to put on that revenge black dress, go out, do your hair, get yourself feeling sexy, feeling beautiful. It's possible your last relationship didn't let you feel beautiful. So now is your time to move on and let go of that connection. For others of you, this is someone coming to you saying, I've moved on from my ex. I am ready to take on this new role, and I want to take it on with you. I want to be beautiful with you. I want to help you feel beautiful, and I want to feel beautiful with you. It's someone who feels very sexy with you. They feel very strongly towards you, and you feel the same towards them. This is mutual, especially with this I've moved on is number 55, so I'm just getting twins. I'm getting this matching connection. So there are 2 different stories there for you. Either it's time for you to move on and put on your freakum dress, or they've moved on from their past relationship and they're ready to put something nice on you and wear something nice for you. They're ready to look good with you and be as authentic and sexually honest and open as possible in a way that I don't think either of you have had in your past relationships. So those are your very quick messages. If you listened to all 3 of them and connected to them, that is beautiful. If you only picked one and you connected to them, that is beautiful. Either way, let me know in the comments. Again, check out our show notes to see all the stuff that I used to help me come up with this episode, and maybe you'll learn something interesting for yourself. Maybe you can write me and teach me the new interesting thing. Maybe I missed something, because as I've told you before, these episodes aren't scripted. So I'll have an idea of things I want to talk about, but then I may miss something completely, or I may completely forget that there was something I wanted to mention and it's really important and you picked up on it. So let me know your thoughts. Thank you always for listening. Thank you so much. I wish you beautiful moments. I am sending you all the love in my heart and soul, and all the blessings that Mother Nature, Father Sun, and Goddess Moon have in store for you. Bye now.